share with you this morning a little bit that we talk a lot about technologies, we talk about how the impact of technologies are in our workforce, but the problem is why and how people are totally changing how they work. And why I say you to that is because as Talent Garden, I'm the founder and CEO of Talent Garden, and we are at the moment the European leading innovation platform as a co-working space, education platform, and the Tag Innovation School, where we'll teach to more than 500 students every year around Europe how to work in the digital field. We are working now in more than 8 different countries around Europe, in more than 23 cities, and we are connecting the best digital talents around Europe to try to help them as a big corporation, as a small startups, as a freelancer, to get connected to the businesses and to work differently. And for this reason, we have seen a lot how the people are changing how they work and what skills they need to work differently in their environment. The thing is that are mainly the digital workers and millennials are totally redefining what it means to be productive, what it means to be relevant in the workforce today. And this is because there is a lot of different elements that are impacting on how they work, and are mainly driven by three drivers: the technologies that are all over around us and change how we work, the business factor, and the social factors. If we start from the digital and technologies, we all know how everything today is measurable, how we are all connected and we don't need anymore to go to our workspace, but we can work from remote. We all know how every information is available from everywhere. And this possibility doesn't need anymore to go to the physical space, doesn't need anymore to meet each other, but permit people, thanks to Slack, thanks to Skype, and whatever online chat tool, to get connected. And this impact is something that we need more and more because people are measurable and the data available is much more every day. And so we can control people not only because we see them, but also because we can see clearly the results that they make. And the problem is also the working time are totally changing. So it's not working anymore, the traditional working time, but people want to work when they are more productive. Our campuses are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because what we support is the idea that there are a lot of people that like to wake up very early, and a lot of people that like to work very late in the evening, thanks because they like it or because their other clients or partner are in different parts of the globe. And so the problem is the workspace, the physical workspace, or when they work, has to be every time available, and they have to move very quickly. And also the way how the space is setting has to change. People don't need anymore the small cubicles or the idea of private spaces, but the idea of the space in which they can move easily, they can work with the people that they have to work that day in a shared space. And what is interesting that at the moment in Europe, more than 35% of the people are not having anymore their fixed desk. This doesn't mean that they can move easily and use flex spaces or using different type of activity that is not the traditional desk that they have since a few years ago. And this is also impacting a lot on the productivity, because people not need the company can reduce the amount of space that they take. They can have much lower and smaller space, but they can also put their people inside a shared space where they can learn faster because they can meet other people and collaborate with them. And this is exactly what brings. So if you put technology, if you put how the space are setting, and if you put that they can work whenever they want, when people meet, they stay much more together. It's not needed anymore to stay all the time together to make meetings. So what we have seen is that there is much lower number of meetings, but much more productive. Because people, when they stay together, they really make more brainstorming or activity that are, thanks to design, thinking, prototypes and so on, they can much more easily try to define and work on the creativity part. And when they are alone, they can work more on the productive and be connected thanks to technology between them with chat and so on. So the problem is what we have seen and what we are working a lot at Talent Garden is not only giving the space and the environment where they can work in this way, but is also understanding that people to work in this way has to have new skills. And this is the main challenge that all the big corporations, all the small and medium business have in front of them. Because the problem is that they have to readapt, thanks to the new urgency and necessities of a company, the skills that they have from the past. And many research show how, from now to 2020, more than 30% of the skills that people has now is not needed anymore, and there is new 30% of skills that is needed. And if we have to see what is this new skill that is needed, are mainly soft skill, are mainly the ability to work with others. And so the first one is for sure the cognitivity flexibility, and so the idea that you have to learn faster, quicker, and the idea that you have to also learn in a different ways, with different time, with very, very quick type of learning. We make courses inside Talent Garden of 12 weeks, where from zero we teach you how to learn to code, how to learn about data analytics, about how to work in the digital field. And so it's much more quick, but also because in your life you have to come 5, 6, 10 times again to the school to learn how and which is the new skills that is needed. It's you have to be much more helpful and attentive and collaborative to all the environment and all the people around you. And you became much more important the ability to coordinate with others, because the process are more shared between different teams and different people, and also the teams are not anymore fixed, but you can change the team based on the single project. And this became more important, how you can be a manager and deal with people. And so all the type of leadership that is not based on the traditional environment and the traditional way, but is totally on the same line and flat. And obviously the creativity became much and much more important, because people need much less people from before. They need less people, the big corporation, and so the one that they have to really focus on the best talents ever inside. And they obviously need to resolve a complex problem solving, because it's something that is so quick, the technological impact that we do in our life, that if we are not able to really adapt and continuously to adapt to the challenge that we have in front of us, we will not be more able to adapt ourselves. And these skills altogether is something that we see change every year enough. But it's something that also, if you compare that to the future, will impact a lot more the impact of the workforce. And so when company define how the people inside has to work, became more and more important the culture that they have, the space, how is the setting of the space, how is the learning process that they set up inside the company to really adapt to this big challenge that they have in front of us. The numbers of this change is really incredible. We are talking about more than 25 million extra workers that will be needed in the US by less than 10 years. More than 35 million of new extra workers. So the idea that big corporation has not only to hire people, but has also to work with external people. And so the idea of freelancing, of collaborating with small startups is becoming much more important every day, because the problem is that you can not only have your skills internally, but you have to acquire that on the market. You have to share with other companies and take some people work on some single project when it's needed. Because the idea of attracting talents became much more difficult every day. Remote working, and in general how the technologies is making the impact on how we work, is only a small wave of this change. The problem is that the millennials and the new people that are coming to the workforce are totally change their need on how they want to work, because they are a user of the technology in the private life, and when they come to the big corporation or to the company, they want to work differently. And adapt to this challenge to attract and retain the best people in the future will be the more important things for all the company that will work in the different field around Europe and not only. As Talent Garden, we are working a lot on this, to create the best environment where people can work, a best environment where people can come and learn which is the skills and the activity that they need to work in the future, but also working a lot on the connection, to connect these talents together and this talent with a big corporation. We have created this network of 23 campuses around Europe with the idea of helping to connect small startups, big corporations, small and medium business with freelance, with the idea that we are becoming more and more connected with digital, but the physical presence is much more important in the future. And for this reason, we will open also a campus here in Dublin with DCU University in October this year, to connect all the talents in Dublin to the rest of Europe and try to create a platform where they can move easily around different countries. If you want to discover a little bit more, you can find on our website or come to our campus to try to understand how every day are really changing the impact on the workforce for people and the learnability that they need in the future. Thanks.